In the passage of time, many cities have claimed to be the strongest in their land, yet few would have the ability to surpass the power of the city of Majectrum. At the beginning of its time, in the barren lands of the northwestern tundra and close to the ocean, a group of shepherds came together to form the village of Gargna. This was an attempt to consolidate their limited resources and to protect themselves from the ever most frequent pirate attacks. The village was established on the top of a harsh hill, overlooking the surrounding area and the nearby shores. Well protected from possible attacks, the shepherds started building their homes close to one another using marble and redstone that they could easily extract from the ground. The area had not much to offer, but a little grass barely enough to feed the animals. Yet, Gargna quickly grew to become a commercial center in its region. A small port was created to cover the trading needs of its people, while a stone bridge was constructed to connect the village to the main road. Many farmers, shepherds and craftsmen chose the market of the village to sell their products, and in result, slowly but steadily, money started pouring in. The people of Gargna eventually focused more on the extraction of minerals and stones, in which the ground was unexpectedly rich. The initial unorganized digging evolved into mines, and experts from other lands came to live in the village. Production increased significantly, and people achieved great profits from the shipping of goods, such as marble, redstone and copper, to the southern kingdoms. Unfortunately, the increasing influence of Gargna did not go unnoticed. Tribe lords from the tundra considered the village a potential threat and saw an opportunity to establish their authority. Soon threatening notes started arriving, demanding that profits from all commercial activity to be handed over to the tribes, or else the village would be invaded. The people of Gargna, though, were not afraid and did not comply. On the wee hours of a cold winter day, an army of tribesmen attacked Gargna. With swords and axes, they easily broke the village's weak defense, and they started slaughtering. Men, women and children lost their lives. The invaders killed almost everyone and burned the village to the ground. They stole all that could be stolen: gold, weapons and animals. Everything else was left to ashes. For about 200 years, the village was left abandoned. Buildings, streets and shops all turned into ruin. The port was partially functional, allowing some minor trade between foreign kingdoms and the tribes of the north. People from the southern lands, facing many years of bloody wars, were forced to migrate. Wandering around the seas for months, and after visiting many different lands, they discovered the old ruins of Gargna. 7 families were the first who resided in the abandoned village. They thought that this place was gifted. It was an outpost in the northwestern lands that could potentially develop into an important trading spot. Eventually more settled in and starting massively rebuilding. These new settlers were educated and rich. They were travelers of the world, people of trade, people of the arts, people of war. Some of them were famous craftsmen and architects of the South. Thus, instead of simple homes, they started building towers and palaces. The village quickly turned into a city, and it was renamed. Its new name was Majectrum, meaning flower of the north in the southern tongue. Apart from the people of the south, wildlings and tribesmen arrived in the resurrected city. Exhausted by continuous bad winters and battles between the tribes, they asked for permission to live there. The new settlers agreed to let them stay. Yet, They had to learn their southern language and ways and forget their wild and vicious traditions. The city's social structure slid into a caste system. At the top were the first 7 settler families, which were the ruling caste. Second were the rest of the settlers, and at the end were the locals, wildlings and tribesmen. Relations between the castes were not outlawed but were not encouraged. With the passing of time, though, many poor families married into rich ones, allowing a mix of cultures to take place. The rulers of the city silently allowed such practices, as they believed it would help bring everyone closer together. They were correct. And so Majectrum flourished for many years. Trade was drastically increased. The port was at full use again. The old mines started working, while new ones were created. Apart from the previously identified minerals, gold and precious jewels were also discovered. This led to an increase in the city's wealth as no other settlement in the north had ever experienced before. Massive infrastructure projects were initiated, making the city undoubtedly gorgeous. New roads and plazas, fountains with clean water, parks, temples and schools. New stone city walls were constructed to protect the population from occasional attacks. Finally, on the top of the hill, a large fortress was built. The Grand Fortress was a complex of stone towers connected with bridges and arches. This massive building was the residence of the 7 ruling families. 3 of the 7 ruling families controlled Majectrum's merchant fleet, while the rest owned the mines. All together formed the ruling committee and led the city's army. Almost 2 centuries after the resettling of the city, the son of one of the ruling families, Garrett Gartherol, came back to the city with treasures and riches from his trip to the eastern lands. He brought with him gold, silver and jewels, which he shared with the rest of his caste. Yet, in his bag was also another hidden treasure, which he dearly wanted to keep for himself. The dark stone. He found the stone in the dark tunnels of an old pyramid in the eastern lands. He was impressed by the beautiful colors that arose from within the rock, as well as the marvelous carvings in a language that was long forgotten. A true relic from the past, he thought. Unaware of its purpose, he asked many priests from the east to identify the object. All were unable to answer but one. Things that are lost in the shadows should remain in the shadows. Throw this cursed item into the deep of the sea and hope that no man will ever find it again, the priest said. Garrett was not happy with the answer and decided to keep the relic and bring it to Majectrum. During his trip back home, his heart filled with lust and dreadful thoughts poured into his mind. He quickly turned anxious, and his behavior became unstable. And in due course the dark stone started talking to him. A silent and calm voice came from the beautiful object. It told him that he could acquire all that he wanted, all that he deserved. That all his friends were his foes and that no other treasure in the ship could lead him and his family to greatness. Intrigued by these promises, he kept the stone close to his heart during the entire trip, becoming day by day more addicted to its silent preaching. Once Garrett reached home, he shared all his treasures. He seemed happy and confident, befriending even those who did not hold high in his mind and heart. By the stone's instructions, he strengthened his ties with the generals of the army, telling them stories of his travels and battles. He quickly gained followers who were looking up to him, and these people he invited to his secret sessions. In the cold and dark vaults of the grand fortress, Garrett set up his temple. In a large room, on the very deep of the central tower, he placed a marble obelisk. On top of the obelisk, he placed the dark stone. He and his followers would gather every few days to pay their respects to the spirit of the stone, as they called it, and to coordinate their actions in the city. The stone spoke to the people through Garrett, claiming that only it could lead them to greatness and that its followers had to execute its wondrous plan to bring righteousness back into this world. You have to conquer what cannot be conquered. You have to claim what cannot be claimed. Then all will come to an end. Their activity mainly consisted of murders of selected individuals holding primarily important military, spiritual or educational roles. After some months of preparation and when their forces reached an adequate number, the Dark Stone told Garrett it was time to act. On a midsummer's night and during the celebrations of the city's resettlement, dozens of Garrett's followers, armed with swords and torches, spread into the streets. They started killing civilians, burning houses and causing chaos to distract the army's attention. Garrett, alongside some of his selected followers, lurked into the shadows and, when the time was right, sneaked into the grand fortress. After walking through the corridors and murdering all that blocked their way, they reached the main hall where the members of the ruling families had gathered. Garrett then proclaimed his great purpose. Only him and his family should rule Majectrum, and death was inevitable for anyone who would not agree to follow him. The senior members of the 6 other families called him insane and a traitor, screaming that they would never allow him to rule. And so, Garrett's militants attacked. In an unexpected turn of events, soldiers of the city's army run into the main hall. Side by side with the members of the 6 ruling families, they fought the militant group and slayed them on the spot. Something had gone terribly wrong in Garrett's plan. Garrett was captured and on the morning of the next day was brought in front of the ruling committee to face a trial. 3 generals and academics, supposedly members of Garrett's clan, had betrayed him. They revealed his plan and the ruling committee had some time to prepare a counterattack. Garrett was convicted guilty of treason and was executed in the evening of the same day. His family was forever exiled from Majectrum. In the unfortunate case any of them chose to return, they were promised to face the death penalty. Finally, the ruling committee decided to find the Dark Stone and get rid of it. Yet, upon reaching Garrett's temple, the relic had vanished and was nowhere to be found. Search parties looked for weeks, but they reached a dead end. The Dark Stone remained lost for the years to come. 75 years after the execution of Garrett, Majectrum had reached the peak of its power and wealth. The city had become a financial and military powerhouse. Its population had been increased 3-fold and, at that point in time, it had conquered large parts of the northwestern region. The 6 ruling families had revitalized and expanded the grand fortress, while the city walls had been significantly reinforced. All prospered and fared well, much from the guidance of the ruling committee and especially one family, the Stonecrones. Lord Heriot Stonecrone had 3 sons and 2 daughters. All were involved in public affairs, having critical roles in the city's management. The youngest of his sons, Elias Stonecrones, was definitely the brightest of them all. He was a well-educated young man that mostly focused on medicine and medical research. He had helped a lot the less privileged citizens of Majectrum, offering his services and advice always for free. During one of his visits to the city, though, he met Aurora. She was a beautiful young girl coming from a wildling family. His heart fell for her the moment he saw her. The girl also felt a strong attraction for the man, and the two started meeting at nights, walking around the streets of the city and discussing about themselves, Eliath's work and the future. After some months of seeing each other, Eliath decided he wanted to marry Aurora. "My heart will be forever yours," he said. "I love you more than I could ever imagine, and to prove that to you I will find and give you the most precious jewel in the kingdom. Once I do that, I will marry you." The girl agreed and kept his promise in her heart, waiting for him to propose. Eliath searched his family's treasury, but no treasure they possessed was a good enough gift to give to Aurora. He looked everywhere in the castle, and in one of the darkest crypts he found a beautiful black stone. The dark stone. The marvelous jewel captured his attention as it laid on the ground. "I found the right gift for her," he thought. The man took the jewel and went straight away to his lover and proposed. Aurora was impressed from the beauty and uniqueness of his gift and immediately fell into his arms and kissed him. They visited her house first. Her father greeted the news with excitement, giving them his wholehearted approval and his best wish. So did the family of Eliath. Their marriage was arranged 2 full moons from the day he proposed. The girl kept the dark stone on the side of her bed, always thinking of Eliath when she looked at it. With the passing of time, though, she started feeling uneasy. She felt her body change. Her breasts grew larger, her belly started getting bigger. It seemed that she was pregnant. Eliath noticed the change in his lover's body and became furious. The two had never slept together. It was considered inappropriate to do so before sealing their love through marriage. He felt betrayed and was extremely hurt, as he concluded that Aurora had been with another man. The girl, with tears in her eyes, refused his accusations, claiming that she had been with no man and that the only one she wanted was him. "You are my sun and my moon. I could never be with anyone else other than you," she said as she tried to calm down Eliath. Yet, the man was heartbroken. He could not believe her and could not trust her. He called off their marriage and took his gift back. Eliath kept the dark stone in a wooden box in the corner of his bedroom. He dared not to look at it as it reminded him of Aurora. But the dark stone soon started calling him. "She betrayed you," said the voice from the stone. "She slept with somebody else and made a fool out of you. Now everyone in the city laughs at you. You are nothing. She wanted to hurt you." The man got the dark stone out of the box and stared at it for hours. The silent voice kept talking, and its power poisoned his mind and soul. "You don't belong here, Eliath. This life is not fair to you. Take your life, Eliath. Only then you can find redemption. Only then all will come to an end." The words coming from the stone were getting more and more addictive, and the man started losing his mind. He stayed locked in his room for days, refusing to communicate with his family and friends, refusing to eat or even to drink water. "Who are you?" the man asked the stone. "How come you communicate with me?" "I am a demon," the stone responded. "I am trying to help you, Eliath. You do not deserve this torture. Love is pain. Love is doom. Love cannot be conquered. take your life." After days of continuous preaching, Garrett's mind was consumed. "My life has no purpose," the man thought. "Why exist when there is no reason for existence?" Lost in his dreadful thoughts and corrupted by the dark stone, Eliath got out of his room, walked to the top of the tallest tower of the fortress and jumped into the cold nothingness of the night. The news of Eliath's suicide traveled with the speed of light, and by the first morning hours everybody in the city was aware of what happened. Aurora was shocked by the news. She was screaming and shouting. Tears were pouring out of her eyes. Her body had almost returned to its normal form, and she was getting ready to visit Eliath and show him his mistake. But death got there first. The Stonecrone family forbade Aurora and her folks to attend their son's funeral, holding them responsible for what happened. Yet, a few days later, Eliath's mother came to visit Aurora. She told her that she figured out what drove her son mad and that she should have understood its influence earlier. "There were tales from when I was young that revisited my mind and showed me the answer. A cursed item. This drove my son insane. Tell me, my daughter, where is the gift Eliath gave you?" Aurora explained to the woman that Eliath had taken the jewel from her and offered her assistance in finding and destroying the dark stone. Eliath's mother and Aurora ran to the castle, afraid of the potential threat the dark stone posed. They searched everywhere. In Eliath's room, the main hall, the rooms of the servants, but there was no clue. Aurora herself climbed to the very top of the tower from which her lover had committed suicide, and there she saw the dark stone on the edge of the terrace. Anger fueled her heart, and the girl grabbed a sword. "He was a good man," the voice said. Aurora stood frozen. "His soul was pure and kind. He loved you dearly. You know," the voice continued. "But now he is mine, and I am fragile and free. I conquered what could not be conquered. All now will come to an end." "What are you?" the girl screamed. "Tell me, what monster are you?" "I am a demon, and all will come to an end," the voice responded. "I solved the riddle. I claimed what could not be claimed. I claimed love. Love that was meant for you." Terrified and angry, Aurora raised the sword and hit the dark stone with all her strength. The dark stone broke into pieces and fell from the terrace into the void. The girl looked to make sure that the jewel was destroyed. She was successful. Slightly relieved, she stood there for a moment, watching the night take control of the skies. She was thinking of all that she had lost. A loud noise broke the silence. A monstrous roar echoed from the bottom of the tower, and everything started shaking. A body of smoke and dust formed, quickly bursting into flames. She looked aghast and stepped backwards. "All will come to an end, my child," a loud and deep voice proclaimed, coming from the body of smoke. "The demon," she thought. "Thank you for breaking my cage. Thank you for setting me free." The demon said. Aurora started running towards the stairs, but a strong stream of air pushed her back and threw her off the tower, killing her. The ground then started shaking again, and people in Majectrum panicked. The wind blew with tremendous power, and fires started bursting like exploding bombs all over the city. The demon screamed and laughed. His voice stroked like thunder. Then it skydived in its malice form of smoke and flame to the narrow streets and buildings of Majectrum, destroying everything and everyone in its path. Quickly and relentlessly, it consumed all, the fortress, the city and its citizens. People ran, but only a few managed to escape. The ones who succeeded crossed the bridge and ran into the main road and the nearby hills. From there they watched everything they held dear getting destroyed. Majectrum was devoured. The survivors left the city and never returned. Most of them spread to other minor settlements in the north, while the rest chose to head to the southern kingdoms. The ruined city and the surrounding lands from then on were considered cursed, and people avoided at all costs, even getting near them. And so, with the passing of time, memories faded, and only stories and songs remained of the great old city of Majectrum and of its destruction. Stories and songs that the people kept in their minds and hearts for the centuries to come. Don't wake me up in the midst of the night. Under the moonless sky, I search for the light. With fire and dust, I loudly cast aside all the love that is lost in the midst of the night. And as flowers bloom, they wither and die. In our city's doom, spirits rise up and cry. For the sake of a beast, children lost their lives. As my flower bloomed, it was burned and it died. Please don't wake me up in the midst of the night.